Yeah, stay tuned after the TWGOK podcast for a special Charlie Brown podcast where we cover every material that's ever been done on Charlie Brown. Anyways, moving on.
Welcome to the TWGOKCast, a show about rewatching and rereading The World God Only Knows. I'm Aquason.
And I'm Magile.
And today we are covering Chapter 2 / Flag 2 / Episode 2, the first half of The World God Only Knows, the Elsie Arc. Well, I call it the Elsie Arc. It's, not huge. So, as we start our episodes, I have a question for you, Magile.
What is it?
Okay. Magile, do you have any brothers or sisters?
No.
Okay. Follow-up question. Did you ever want a?
No.
No? You're fine with being an only child?
Yeah, I don't really like people, so I don't really want siblings.
How would you feel if a girl forcibly inserted herself into your family by claiming to be an illegitimate child from another family affair or whatever?
I just want to say that you need to pick a better choice of words next time. You're saying a girl inserting herself places is pretty sus of you, Aqua.
Listen, I use high, elevated rhetoric and vocabulary and diction, alright? You can't fault me for using the word insert. That's on you.
That said, I don't think I'd be that surprised, all in all.
Alright. Well, that was our opening, so why don't we go to our recap?
Yeah.
Okay, so we start off picking up from where the last chapter / episode ended, with Elsie being in Keima's classroom, introducing herself to the class as his sister. And the class, they're asking Elsie, are you really his little sister? And she's like, I'm one hell of a little sister. Yeah, that's me. And they're like, oh, it's impossible. Like, he's so lame and a loser. I can't believe someone as cute as you is like his sister. And Elsie gets super offended and is like, my big brother is awesome. He is going to make every girl in the world fall in love with him. And all the kids laugh in Peanuts style, like from the Charles Schultz comic. Keima is embarrassed that, like, she's making these declarations, ruining his geek cred. And then we cut to after school, and Keima is walking home, and Elsie is confused. Because she doesn't know her way in the city, right? In the human world.
Correct, yeah.
And, and Keima, he's insisting that, no, you're not my sister. You stop following me. Don't go on. I thought the contract was done. And then Elsie reveals, like, no, there's a lot more spirits in this town. And, it would be difficult if I had to, like, it would be difficult if I was forced to, like, I don't know, live elsewhere or whatever. But if I could live with you, then, like, it would make things so much easier. So I talked to Chief Dokra, I sent a letter, and we made arrangements. I'm just gonna live with you. And Keima, he is, reasonably resistant to this. And he says, I'm never letting you into my house. And just when he says that, his mom shows up, and she's like, oh, Keima, who's this? You have a friend? And that's how Keima, and that's how Keima's mother and Elsie meet. Depending on if you're in the manga or in the anime, there's a slight differences here, but they basically talk a bit in Keima's house, which is a cafe as well. It's like an attached side business. And
this is when Elsie drops the news.
Yes. Okay. And then Elsie, she, as they're getting their names, she introduces herself, and she says, I'm your husband's illegitimate child. And, this goes over well with Mary, not at all. No, it doesn't. She She turns out to have been part of a biker gang in the past, and as she calls Keima's dad to interrogate this, we get this pretty funny moment where, she kicks a thing, lets her hair down and is, yelling at him. And Elsie has kind of destroyed Keima's family in, short term-ish. And, but Mary, for her worth, she grabs Elsie, she grabs Keima, and is like, don't worry, guys, I'm gonna take care of you. And then we cut to the next scene, which is Keima at the game store. And Magile, you should do this. You should talk here.
Should I?
Yes.
Am I allowed to?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, Elsie and Keima over at the game store. Keima is just doing his thing, looking at all the games that are going on sale at the moment. I believe he's looking for both the normal and a limited edition version of different games. I think that's the thing that was mentioned. And Elsie's talking about why she can't be his little sister. And this is when Keima brings up the 3 requirements to truly be qualified as a little sister, using the delightful acronym of BMW.
Yes.
Which, of course, stands for blood, as in you have a blood relationship.
Yeah.
Yep. Very important. Stepsisters aren't real. The fakers.
Or like a sister, it's basically a stranger.
Yeah. Then you have to have memories, bonds forged over time and creating memories of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And then the not at all forced W in it, which is Woni-chan Moe, if you think I pronounced that accurately enough. Which
you did
is
not. But
okay.
It's fine.
No, don't worry. I want to pronounce it as incorrectly as possible.
As American as possible.
Yeah. I should have added a Q in there as well too somehow. Anyways, she just has to be cute, which is the point.
Mm-hmm.
And Keima's saying that she's never going to be able to fulfill any of these requirements. And he points at Elsie while telling this, because then Elsie takes a bite, just a nice little chomp at Keima's fingers, and draws blood so that they can have the same blood flowing through their veins. Ignoring that's not how that works at all, but hey, at least she's trying.
That was overly literal, Elsie, right there.
So then they're done at the game store after that point. Keima buys the things he came there for. And they head back home, where Elsie's trying to do more things to prove that she'd make a good little sister. Starting with cooking, of course. So she's Elsie is a really good chef, so she decides to make some food for Keima. Keima's resistant at first, but using the arraignment, Elsie kind of just forces him to accept the meal. She's making pasta. It's translated as pescatory sticks. Am I correct on that?
That is correct, my gal. 10 points.
I'm doing Japanese and Italian in one video.
Well, sticks is
English,
actually the localization of the river Sanzaku in Japanese. Blah blah blah. It's just the Japanese. I know they translate it as sticks. It's actually Greek.
I'm trilingual, Aqua. Anyways, Keima's very resistant at trying the food because he sees that it's these fish from hell. They're hellfish.
And it's alive.
Yes, they're still alive. I mean, yeah. Anyway, it doesn't really matter because Elsie's going to force him to eat it. And right before Keima's like, "Oh, I know where this is going. I'm going to try the food. It's going to taste terrible." And that's kind of that's a slight twist because he tries it and he's like, "You know what? Not actually that bad." Surprisingly.
Yes. Pretty good.
Yep. And then talking about what other things Elsie can do. They're like, "Hey, look at the house." And then Keima looks and it's beyond spotless. It's perfect. And she talks, and Kim was like, "Oh, how did you do this?" And Elsie's like, "Oh, I've been cleaning for 300 years, 298 with them with the broom that she's using, the broom of which has a special feature where you can amplify the cleaning ability." So she decides to pick up after this, like a tiny little mess that was made from eating. So she tries to turn it to the lowest setting, and then she sweeps, and boom, explosion, because she accidentally had it on the highest setting.
Yeah.
So then right after that, Kane was obviously a little upset, but then he gets some bad stomach pains from the food that he was eating, and had to go run over to the bathroom. And,
Yes.
Elsie's just apologizing profusely for causing Kama to be getting a bit sick.
The indigestion, yeah.
Okay. Do you want to take it from here, Aqua?
Aqua, excuse me. I am not a fictional character that is yet to be introduced. But anyway, I will continue. I will not respond to that name in the future, Magile.
I didn't. It was like an sound and then an aqua. So you kind of thought they were together, but they weren't. Okay.
Anyway. So Kama, he's in the bath. He's playing his PFP wrapped in like a plastic bag so that he can
But
play.
it's not wrapped in the
getting
plastic bag yet.
Anyway.
I don't think so. Okay. It's fine.
Oh, okay. I see how this is going. Anyway.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Kama's there. He's playing his game in the bath. He's got it so that it won't get wet. And he's like, yes, this is how a real little sister should be. This gremlin, she's ruining my life. And then he's like flashing in his mind. There's the B, the blood. There's the M. There's the memories. There's the W. There's the Oni-chan wo. And he's like, oh no, crap, she's doing the things. Ugh. And then the lights go out. And he's like, what's happening? And there's some tension. And then he hears movement in the bath. He's like, what? He rushes over to the other side. And then he feels a butt. And then he feels something touch him. And he freaks out. And then he moves to open the blinds so he can get some light in. And it's Elsie. She's there. And they hold for a moment in the bath. And then he freaks out. He's like, "Whoa, what the hell are you doing in here?" And then Elsie is like, "Oh, I'm so sorry because I caused your indigestion. I thought like I could make it up to you by scrubbing your butt." And then Kayla was like, "Absolutely not. What the hell?" And then he says, "Stop doing all these fake little sister acts, And then Elsie's like, "But I am really a little sister. I have an actual older sister." And she's like, so impressive, so much better than me. Meanwhile, all I've done is spent, my whole life, 300 years just cleaning and cooking. We're so different. So when I got hired to be on the Runaway Spirit Squad, to be an official demon, I was so happy. I could die. And Kama, he listens to her and he says, "I couldn't care less." And then he walks away. And then Elsie starts crying in the bath. But then Kama turns around. He's turned on the lights, of course, at this point. And he's like, "I only listen to logic and reason. I'm not swayed by my emotions. And my logic and reason is telling me that I should accept you as my little sister." And she's like, "Really?" And she's so happy. And Kama, he's like, "I got to get this collar off me as fast as I can. And if I accept you, you're the best way to get through this contract as fast as I can. Kicking you out is not going to help us or help me get out of this." She's like, "Thank you so much." And he's like, "Don't touch me." He does a cool dodge. And he also says as he passes, "And maybe you'll be able to, make your sister proud as well." Nice ending, except Elsie, like a little while later, she's come out dressed. She gives him his PFP, and she's washed it. And he's like, "You washed it with water?" And she's like, "No, I washed it with soap, plenty of soap too, to get it extra squeaky clean." And then he's like, "On the other hand, you know what? Forget it. Get the hell out." And then that's the end of the episode, the arc.
It's only the end of half of an episode.
Yes.
Because this didn't deserve a full episode, apparently.
Anyway, yeah. So, do we want to start off with, I don't know, broad reactions? Because before I get into all my countless observations and minutia.
It's a good episode. Well, good half an episode. Darn it, I did the thing.
Good half episode. It's like 2 shorts, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have anything more than that, Magile? Or do you want to start with just, observations and then we'll work towards, final wrap-up conclusions, you know?
I can move on to observations, I think.
Okay.
Starting with a very pivotal one, based like the whole title of the episode chapter, the one hell of a little sister thing. How much do you think that was like the basis for making Elsie a little sister in the story? Just so we can have this one pun.
This actually is great because it lets me go into one of my topics. So, the title of the chapter and then the thing that Elsie says in the episode itself, I didn't quite understand it when I read the French version, because the French version calls the chapter like his sister up to his fingernails. And do you have any idea what that means?
No, I'm not French, unfortunately.
No. Okay, so I had to look it up as well. It's like an expression that means like his sister through and through. And then when I looked that up, it made me look up the actual chapter title, and I'm like, oh, it's a pun. It's like the saying is like his sister, like the part of it, the part that would be translated one hell of a or a devil of a. It uses the word akuma, which means like demon, devil, but in this case, it means like as part of the whole phrase. It doesn't mean that. It means like his sister, fully, completely, through and through. So there's a double meaning there. And I thought it was that's probably the basis. Like I feel like this pun probably had like at least was part of the initial concepting of how the series would be different from the one shot, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's not like a fully unique pun either, but I mean, it's cool.
Okay, so that was your observation that I co-opted. Now it's time for my observation that you can co-opt if you can stomach it, if you can figure it out. Mm-hmm. All right. Oh, see, this is the thing. This episode's short, so I wanted to just talk about the opening, the anime opening, both the music and the visuals. It's so good. It's like we didn't get a chance to talk about it in the previous episode, but like the first time I saw the series in the first episode, like that is such an eye grabbing and like ear. I didn't understand it was English until like I don't know 6-7 episodes in, but like the way that it uses, for example, English, and then like the instrumentation, the operatic or oratorial style, and like I always like I think I've got a couple different favorite points, but like my first favorite point is that moment when like Elsie is sleeping and then the hand from the side comes up and like the camera like shifts in a 3-dimensional way to reveal all these game girls like in heaven, like going towards an implied god, and it's like done in the like I don't know Sistine Chapel style. It's like this is one hell of an opening.
I think it's a really good opening. I think I don't have much I want to pinpoint in specific about it, since I think it's so well done all the way through. I think it's only ever really outmatched by itself later on, which we'll get to when it comes to that. But this is definitely a really good opening.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now it's your turn for for an observation.
Okay, this was probably going to be a shorter one since we kind of mentioned it in the recap. So this is kind of a follow-up to it. You mentioned the Peanuts gag, and I knew it was a
Yes.
Peanuts gag. But then you were like, oh, it's this guy's work, and I'm like, are you a big Peanuts fan? Did you follow the Peanuts pretty actively?
So, I guess I'm a bigger fan than you. Like, I inherited this, like, little box, this little, like, maybe, like, 8 volumes of, like, paperback, pretty small Peanuts comics. They're called Snoopy on the actual labeling, that I read when I was a kid. And then, like, I don't know, a year ago, I found out that the Peanuts website had, like, all the comics, and I was reading them from, like, the very first one, which is a really weird comic of, like, there's 2 kids sitting by, and then they see this kid walking by, and he's going, like, good old Charlie Brown. Yep, here is good old Charlie Brown. That was good old Charlie Brown. How I hate him. Once he leaves out of earshot. And I'm like, this comic is very funny and very weird.
Man, I didn't know you were, like, the biggest Peanuts fan I've ever met. Well, I'm happy that you could...
That's not true, man. I haven't seen all the movies or anything. I've only seen this one old DVD, which is like Peanuts the Musical, I think. And it's like, there's one song that stuck in my head where it was, she's gonna call on me and ask me something I don't know. I don't know it. I don't know it. She's gonna ask me something about Edgar Allan Poe. And then Linus. Actually, I bet you don't... Do you even know the characters' names?
I mean, I know Charlie Brown. I've heard of Linus. I couldn't pick him out of a lineup, probably. There's a girl, too.
You know what? This will be our other podcast. The read every single Charlie Brown Peanuts Snoopy.
Stay tuned after the TWGOK podcast for a special Charlie Brown podcast where we cover every material that's ever been done on Charlie Brown. Anyways, moving on.
That was my favorite observation from you. Oh my god, so far.
That's pretty
sad.
So
far. I'm sure you can impress with more. Anyway, here's I'm gonna quickly mention some things that are interesting that you probably might not know. So first off, there's an anime-manga difference where in the manga, when Mary drops the tray of dishes or whatever, she like breaks glasses, while in the anime, it's an empty tray and it like does a little like tumble and like fall around before like settling. Neat difference. And also, this is a thing that you might not know because of the translation. In the manga and in the anime, we learn that Kima's dad is a reporter.
Ooh, I don't know if it's
still
there.
Do you have a reaction noise, please?
You had to like cut out pretty hard there on my end for a second.
Oh, okay. Act like you're shocked.
Ah!
A little overdone. But yes, I'll say it again so I can get a natural reaction. Can you hear me well, though, right?
Yeah, right now I can hear you.
Okay. Kima's dad is a news reporter. He's a foreign correspondent. We learn it in the anime, in the original Japanese dialogue in both anime and manga. He, Mary mentions his reportings. Oh my god, did you die?
Okay. Okay. I feel like I keep expecting there to be more. I think that might be the issue. That's the end of the story? Whoa, I'm so surprised. Oh my goodness.
Listen. Don't get me started on gift bags, alright? I'm like, whoa, they keep the consistent gift bag design in hell. You're gonna be waiting for a long time after that. After the boss.
Do not bring up the goddamn gift bags.
Did you notice that in the anime, Canon's song is playing in the game store before she's introduced?
Yes, I did. That's on my list of things I noticed. I thought that was a nice, preview of what's to come.
Yeah. There's going to be more of these in the coming episodes as well.
I definitely recall watching and just hearing Canon songs constantly throughout the entire show.
It's like hearing Taylor Swift in the supermarket. this part, wrote down a note, but in retrospect, I feel like you're not going to care about this because it's just a Japanese word.
I like Japanese words.
Really?
You can tell me a Japanese word.
Okay, so when Keima says that she doesn't she doesn't match the setup of a little sister, or like she doesn't. I forget what the subtitles use. The word there is sete. It means like settings or setup in like a phone and that thing, but it also means like canon in certain cases. It also means like character design reference sheets. And in this case, like, it kind of means like personality or tropes. It's a really weird kind of expansive word that, basically in that bit came as saying that she doesn't fulfill the little sister archetype.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, you're right. That was not particularly interesting, but I'm happy that you mentioned it nonetheless. I think it's great for you to tell people.
Yes. Come on, Magile. You got more things to be shocked by? Tell me something interesting you observed.
I like the name of the cafe being called Cafe Grandpa. Do we find out why it's called that at some point? I don't recall. Okay.
You don't remember? Okay, I will not spoil it for you because this is a spoiler-filled cast, but this is something you can learn. You can like recognize and be like, "Oh my god." Because there's a lot of stuff like that in TWGOK of things like being built on or like expanded on or like callbacks or like, for example, I hope this isn't a spoiler to you, but when Elsie like destroys the house, right? She damages the other house as well.
Yep.
And that gets brought up in the Tenri arc as for why Tenri moves next door again to him. Because the neighbors, they were upset at the inexplicable damage done to their house, and they sold and moved out.
You know, it's not. But I'm gonna mention. Like, do you know exactly when the Cafe Grandpa thing's brought up? Like, are you gonna be like, oh, it's this chapter, this page specifically where it comes up again?
I know what arc it is, and if I told you the chapter number, I would say it's roughly like 60 to like 70, I'd say.
And I have a question. Do you know if it's manga only, or is it brought up in the anime too?
It's manga only.
Oh, that is why I do not recall at all. Okay, I'm not surprised at all I don't recall this anymore. Do you want more commentary from me, or do you you have more stuff you wish to bring up?
Listen, I've still got a bunch of bullet points, but you gotta contribute. Otherwise, it feels like I'm talking too much, man.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I also want to bring up on how like Keima's father in this is kind of like so like randomly screwed over for no reason. Like you're just working one day and you get your call from Mari, and it's just like, oh, you have an illegitimate daughter, like, and it's, does he know about this? Or is he just like, what in the world is this lady talking about?
Yeah, we never learn exactly what Keima's dad, how he reacts or processes this strange news, but you know, even though that Mary apparently is talking to a lawyer, and there are, you know, repeated threats to divorce, we learn that, you know, they stay together. So off screen, you know, they probably had a full rom-com kind of experience between Mary and do you remember his name? This is me testing you. I know his name.
No, I don't remember his name.
Oh my god. You'll learn this as well. You'll learn this when you read the manga, man. Anyway.
I'm sure I will. Would you watch the spin-off adventures of Keima's father, whose name I do not know, and Mari? Is that something you'd want to read?
Depends on the price, honestly.
The price? Okay, sure. Whatever you say.
Anyway, I've got a bunch of... Listen, these are sentence-long bullet points. give me a reaction noise to say whether this is interesting or not.
Okay.
Point number 1. God, Hiroshimono really, he really goes crazy when he does the BMW, right? It's so well delivered.
Woo!
Alright, point 2. There's, on the store, one of the signs says Love Minus. That's a reference to a Nintendo DS game dating sim series called Love Plus. And that's not just it, alright? I was gonna make a point that it's kind of interesting that there's a lot of references to the pop culture era of the time. And, they felt very, part of establishing the world being our world. But now they're kind of time capsules of, that 2008 to 2013 kind of era. Also, I really associate TWGOK with before the PS4 and it's the PS3, the Wii, the Xbox kind of era. Xbox 360.
On the topic of things on the video game store, there was in the anime. There was one in on the side of the building that's kind of off, and it reminded me of Higurashi, the design of it. I don't really know if that was intentional. It just kind of gave me Higurashi vibes.
All right. I don't have anything to say about that. I've unfortunately not read Higurashi yet.
I don't think you should. My understanding is the visual novel was pretty bad all in all.
Anyway, next up, this is the first time we see the raiment used to bind or tie things up, which will basically be a recurring power it does, It can do basically anything, but especially its ability to, manipulate objects by, physically grabbing them or restraining them. It gets used all the time.
Woo!
And we learn a lot about Elsie, her recurring trait, gag with her cooking. I like how cooking from hell looks disgusting, but, tastes pretty good until indigestion hits.
Woo!
I also like, her cleaning. That becomes a major part of, her connection, building that relationship with Mary. I already mentioned how the destroyed house comes back. Did you notice in the anime that there was a red mark on the broom?
Boo! I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. So, in the Kusunoki arc of the manga, Elsie draws on marker 4 marks, tally marks, on her broom to mark the runaway spirits she's captured.
Yep, okay.
And in the anime, this scene doesn't happen, but she starts drawing them onto the broom off screen. She's got one red mark around the circumference, whatever. She's got a red tally mark on her broom that shows that she's got one captured loose spirit. And they never draw attention to it, but it's a cool long-term continuity character thing.
You explained it, and I definitely remember that now. Now that you explained it, I do.
I made a TWGOK trivia post about it once.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and I also tested it on one of you guys, and you guys what? Whoa!
Oh, that explains it.
And that's why you're not going, what, whoa? Because you were blown away previously. Trust me, audience.
Whoa.
This is, if you don't know it, it is incredible that this, thing, is a thing.
I have an Elsie figure, almost directly above my head. What are the odds as red markings on the broom?
I would say 15%.
Okay, do you actually want me to check this? Because it would require me to go turn on the lights in my room.
Listen, this is an audio podcast. We can use the magic of editing to say that it was done right now.
Okay, there are none. I checked.
Okay.
I will follow up next week, though. I will check on another Elsie figure I have access to see if there are markings on it. I will bring this up again.
On her broom.
Yep.
Alright. Let's see. Do you have other observations? I've still got 3 more.
I want to talk about Elsie's butt.
Okay.
It was in the anime. That's a random addition they decided to add. I don't know if you have any more commentary on that. It's uncharacteristically lewd, I feel like.
Like, let me think how I want to approach this conversation. I think we can talk about this in a, like, because it is supposed to be a comedic scene, right?
Yeah, sure.
Like, I feel like TWGOK as a whole, like, in the early beginnings, TWGOK in the beginning is a little more fan servicey, and then as it develops sort of an identity and a, like, understanding of how it will use fan service in its work. Like TWGOK as a whole, it's a pretty non-male gazy kind of show, right?
Yeah.
And oftentimes, like, for example, when Hakwa, she is posing as a vintage member, and then Mars attacks her, and her clothes get destroyed, right? That is played for comedy more than, like, fan service. And it's a really funny scene, because she, like, gets upset, she runs away, then she goes back and punches Kama, and then runs away again. And, like, I feel like this early on, TWGOK it does have, like, an approach approximating that, but it is still kind of figuring out itself. Compare this to, like, shit. I'm not sure if you've actually read that chapter in so long, like the arc. Do you remember the Hinoki arc? Is my first question.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the general plot of it. I can't, if you want specific details, it's going to be a bit rough.
Okay, but, like, how gaze and sex appeal and how that is approached there is kind of fairly different than, like, for example, here. But at the same time, like, the joke that happens, like, for that big moment is, like, there's this kind of, like, they're both in the bath and, like, they're, like, holding each other's hand. There's a gaze. It's a held moment. The music kind of plays a bit, and then it hard cuts to Kama, like, freaking out. And, like, that's part of this joke, like, that he wholly rejects that this could be, like, a, I don't know, harem comedy kind of thing, and then, like, he's, like, freaking out like a normal person when someone invades your bathroom.
Okay. I guess one other point is, do you think the anime is made worse because of it? Or do you think the manga's better that it excluded that?
I think it doesn't change that much, honestly.
You think it's mostly a lateral move? It's not worse, it's just different?
Like, I feel like if you were watching this on the TV, you would be a little bit embarrassed.
It's the scene your mom walks in on you in the show.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I'll tell you, I only have one more thing I wish to discuss, so if you have quite a few, feel free to take over.
Sure. Okay, so Kama gets interrupted in the bath, and that is the beginning of a recurring thing that happens to him all the time. It happens in dramatic moments as well. There's one thing that I think is kind of interesting is that Japan and Japanese culture has a tradition of, like, public bathing, which this is not the context of it at all, but I feel like it could be a difference in how egregious this violation of norms is from, like, a Western perspective versus a Japanese perspective. Just something to think about. In the manga illustration, I thought it was funny because we see, like, a tall character and, like, a short character. Spoilers for people, like, 256 chapters later, her sister is Akari, Lumiel, and she is, like, her big sister is shorter than her. So presumably the big sister in that image, like, it's not technically canon. It could be flashback. It could be imagination. But like, she is the big little sister, and her big sister is the little character in that little imagination spot. Let's say.
Whoa.
Yes, thank you, Miguel.
I'm happy you appreciate my reactions.
See, I feel like one thing I think I'm not sure if we both need to work on is getting a little bit more like audio feedback from the other person to tell when things are going on. It feels a little quiet.
I'm sorry. You just start talking, and I'm like, ooh, Aqua talks. I want to listen to this.
Fair enough.
If you just weren't so good at storytelling, I wouldn't be so zoned out on listening to you. So talk less good.
Anyway, what was your point, Miguel?
Oh, my last point was the topic of how weirdly the anime separates the episodes between this episode and the next episode. It's pretty atypical for them to do like 11-minute segments in anime, I feel like. And like, I think they were trying to keep up with like, a chapter to chapter basis with the manga as when translating to anime. And then they realized it didn't make any sense and then stopped doing it. Like immediately after the Mio arc, I'm pretty sure.
That's not true, actually.
Oh, is it? It's not true at all? Am I terrible?
Okay,
so... because I know they have flag listings for, like, each part of the show, continuing on.
Yes.
But it's not listed as, like, the titles of episodes. Because, like, on the DVD release I have right now, it specifically notes 2 different titles for both the second episode and then the third episode, I believe.
Yes. The way that I remember it is... So the first 2 seasons of TWGOK were created at the same time as one concurrent, like, project.
Yep.
And there's a lot of stylistic similarities between that because of that. Like, for example, the episode ending episode cards, where it's like, or like the chapter, the flag ending card, where it's like, I'm not exactly sure how to describe it. It's like kind of CG, kind of illustrated, like the text with the title. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And that, of course, that goes away in season 3 because it's like 3 years later, and like the production team is still Mango, but they're different creative directors and blah blah blah, and they're adapting something that's significantly longer and harder to adapt into 12 episodes. They're not going to do the same thing, but I feel like maybe they don't specifically divide episodes past Mio Arc into like half segment chunks with like a title card. But I feel like they might have in like internally. We'll figure it out when we watch this. It's a good point, though.
We'll see if I was lying or not at some point.
Or if I was mistaken.
One of us is wrong. Find out which.
Anyway, now I've got like a nice paragraph here, about like a kind of more serious thing about the like emotional stakes of this arc. What do you think about Elsie's like inferiority complex? It's a major point that while bubbly and cheerful by nature, Elsie also frequently shows that she takes feeling useless pretty hard. She likes cooking and cleaning, and it's a big part of her identity she's built for herself as, things that she's good at. But, the menial service that she's been doing for 300 years, 298 of them, with a broom, thankfully, like, especially because we later learn on, for example, she went to school with Aqua, and once she graduated, she did not have a particularly great career. She kind of, was cleaning hell for hundreds of years, and she finally gets the chance to, like, be a professional, respected devil, doing, government work, capturing loose spirits.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to comment on, what you're saying about Elsie in general, because I feel like one of the big things of her character is, while she does have all these issues of, being inferior, I feel like she takes a lot of steps, to try to improve upon herself, too, over time. Because a lot of things that happen, are a direct result of Elsie trying to, move into a better state. In the first episode, Elsie is the one who ultimately pushes Kama to, go out and start, getting with girls. And then we have here in the second episode where the BMW issue is coming up, and she's immediately on the, okay, if this is a thing that I need to do, how can I immediately start working towards that? And she obviously bites Kama, and then kind of, I would say, somewhat accidentally starts fulfilling the other requirements, and eventually gets there. And I think that's a pretty cool aspect of Elsie's character, because she's not just a passive character who just kind of lets people push her along, and it's just, oh, hey, Kama captured the spirit time, release the spirit time for me to capture it. She's there trying to actually make things happen as well.
That's a good point. I was going to say that, and Elsie definitely does improve, like, in terms of her ability. She's a great character, a lovely personality, compared to Kama's, like, he's really good at things, but he's, like, a jerk. For example, she gets better at using her raiment and using magic, and she gets all that experience capturing loose spirits, and she gets really good at it, How do I want to introduce this? This is kind of an interesting point. This is kind of a point I want to talk about. Elsie is not a romantic interest for Kama. But TWGOK, as it was existed in a media landscape where that is a trope of, like, a sister romantic incest. We've got Oreimo was a show, an anime. There was, there was Sword Art Online, super mainstream show. And he has, like, a cousin who's, like, into him, in the West, around this time, we've got Game of Thrones shocking people with its, like, incestuous twins who, try to murder a child, So, existing within this landscape, Elsie kind of starts off in a kind of ambiguous spot towards Kama's relationship, right? But as the series goes on, and there's one particular arc, I feel, that, like, solidifies the direction of their relationship. And I think that's having Kama and Elsie really bond together in a, like, sibling sort of way is really good, because it also gives Kama a way for Kama to express and grow as a character with other people's relationships that isn't purely through his romantic conquests,
Yeah. I was gonna mention, actually, have you seen Oreimo?
No. What do you think I am, Magile? A weirdo who watches weird anime?
Yeah. I think it's funny that you bring up, these shows, because I think, specifically with Oreimo, I feel like a lot of people don't know that the first season is not, like, incestuous, like, at all.
But the second season.
It kind of goes... Yeah, it's the second season where it goes off hard. But, I mean, I think, like, the first season, there's a lot of parallels you can draw to TWGOK, even. Since in the first season of Oreimo, the entire point is they're just trying to have Kirino, the little sister in Oreimo, be more comfortable with being an otaku. And the main character just helping out with that. It is nothing weird about it at all, and I feel like, they try to form a good, positive relationship, kind of like Kama and Elsie. I don't think that's a crazy comparison to draw. I mean, even Oreimo, the first season, aired the same time as TWGOK Season 1. Fun fact.
Okay, yeah, interesting. I'm not going to watch that, but it's an interesting perspective to bring. I was also going to say something. I had a point that I wonder if part of the direction that Wakaki took the story in between Kama and Elsie, like, for example, he introduces Aqua, which kind of gives a devil potential love interest for Kama. And it's interesting when you think about that, because you think about the prototype Elsie, for example, and she has Aqua's, like, Scythe of the Testament. Anyway, that's not my main point. My main point is that, Did you know that Wakaki has a little sister?
No, I didn't.
He mentioned it in a blog post, I'm pretty sure. And, like, there were, like, raffles. She had her draw something to see which lucky fan got a thing or whatever. She's not an artist. She's not important. But I wonder if part of this, I wonder if part of that influences how Wakaki approached this in TWGOK. Because he has a relationship like this compared to, say, a only child who can only kind of imagine it, or, you know.
Yeah, I feel that. Imagine being an only child who has no experience with having a little sister and thus has a hard time commenting on it in general. Quite weird.
Have you read the other series by Wakaki?
I mean, he has a few other series, doesn't he?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I've read none of them, so we don't need to clarify which one you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah, when I said series, I meant it with a plural S. I should have enunciated.
Oh, okay. It's fine.
I should have really gone series. So in Wakaki's other series, a lot of the stories, the people have kind of different, like, the main characters all kind of have different, like, family situations. His first one, Holy Crystal Albatross, is single mother, disappeared dad, only child. This one, TWGOK, is, distant dad, mother, Keima, and he's got his, like, adopted kind of sister. The series after this, Nonoa Patisserie, had 3 brothers. The series after that, I don't remember. And then his latest one, 365 Days to the Wedding. One character has 2 older sisters, and the other one is an only child, and her parents are divorced. And, I don't have, like, an amazing insight here, other than it's just, like, it's interesting to me that he seems to be changing up, like, the relationship, the home dynamics between every one of his main characters.
Maybe after we finish the TWGOK podcast, then we move on to the Charlie Brown podcast. Post Charlie Brown, we can start doing every Wakaki series. Okay? Then we have amazing insight on them.
So you say that, Magile, half in jest, because that Charlie Brown series is definitely coming. But that's been a long-standing goal of mine, to eventually create something that I would call, like, the works Wakaki only presents, or the works Tamiki Wakak presents, which would be just, like, a series of blog posts, like, talking about, translating, writing up impressions of every single chapter of every single thing Wakaki has written. But that is like a long-term thing that I'm not sure will ever be possible.
Well, I hope you accomplish your goals.
Maybe. Anyway, we hit a lot of topics for an episode that was fairly short. I'm glad we managed to find things to fill the time.
I am too. And you know what, one thing we have to do before we finish this podcast episode off?
What's that?
You need to not rate this episode, and I need to give it my letter rating. My letter rating.
Okay, that is true.
Okay,
that is true.
So you are not rating this episode, right?
Yeah, I'm not rating this episode. My not rating for this episode is that I think this, as the follow-up chapter to TWGOK's opening introduction, is a good solid way to continue that momentum and introduce this new facet of how Keima is going to be, like, existing with his buddy, Yeah. I think it's an interesting little first part showing Keima's current position in his development, because, like, when he justifies to Elsie why he's accepting her as a little sister and making her happy, he can't just say, like, he has to justify it to himself as being, like, selfish and logical and be like, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for me because I need to get this collar off me. And like, I don't care about you is what he's trying to say. But, you know, a part of him does feel bad and empathy for Elsie. And, you know, it'll be cool to see how this develops further.
I agree.
Thank you, Magile. And you know, I would say that this arc is good. It's a nice continuance. It's got a lot of funny jokes with Elsie's, hell, capabilities. You know, God, that first time she drops I'm the child of your husband, like that I'm the illegitimate child of your husband, it was such a knee slapper. And yeah, I don't know, it was good.
And to end with a much less nuanced take, I would give it a solid B for beautiful.
Thank you, Magile. Well, and we'll see you hopefully next week. I don't know, honestly, how likely it is I'll be able to finish all the things that I gotta do and also record a podcast and also edit together within like a week's time. But hopefully we will release another one. And hey, we broke a record. We hit 2 episodes. That's impressive, right?
Yeah, we have 100% more episodes done than we did last week.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, thank you for taking your time to chat with me, Magile.
Yeah, thank you for talking. I appreciate your words.
Okay. Bye, Magile.
Bye, Aqua.